Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Buckeye Board of Education to order. It is Tuesday, April 9th, and it is 7:09 p.m. Sorry for the slight delay there. Roll call, please. Berger?
Here.
Compliment? Here. Hargy? Here. Stahl?
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. There is a flag up on the wall. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business, and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Approval of minutes. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the minutes for the regular meeting of March 12, 2019 and the special meeting of March 18, 2019. A motion, please.
So moved.
Second? Second. Any questions or comments on minutes? Roll call, please.
Barco?
Yes.
Compliment?
Yes.
Havarchi?
Yes.
Stahl?
Abstain.
Recommendation statement. Following our recommendations that have been identified for approval as part of the consent agenda for this meeting. If a board member wishes to remove any item from this agenda for further discussion prior to taking action, please let either the superintendent or the board president know. Approval of consent agenda. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the consent agenda of April 9th, 2019 as presented. A motion, please. Roll call.
Havarchi?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Barco?
Yes.
Compliment?
Yes. Mr. Morgan, the superintendent's special guest.
Yes, we have our special guest for this meeting is our Students of the Month. We have our administrators come forward and recognize our students.
I am very proud to present the primary student of the month, Amy Justice, and her teachers, Mrs. Babington and Mrs. Paul, have this to say about her. Amy Justice is our student of the month because she's made spectacular growth in reading. Through her determination and commitment to daily improvement, Amy has met each reading goal we set for her despite their increase in rigor. Amy has worked hard this school year and is a role model for her peers in the classroom. In talking to Amy, her favorite subjects are reading and math. You like reading because you said it calms you down. And she's grown. I've seen her scores. I've watched her since kindergarten. She's taken off. She wants to be a vet when she grows up because she has 2 dogs and 3 cats. Is that really true? She likes to ride her scooter at home, and our softball, I think, is in good hands because she plays on the softball team. I'm proud to present Amy Justice.
Good evening. Our special guest could not be here this evening. It's 6th grader Kaylee McKenna, and this is what the 6th grade team had to say about Kaylee. Kaylee is a pleasure to teach because of her natural love of learning, her positive leadership, and her compassion for others. She's a great student who always does her best. For example, the Ruth Goldberg Club, she was elected as her team's captain and led them to create a machine that included multiple chain reactions, 3 robots, a working volcano, and a drone. She was also chosen by her teachers to start a 6th grade kindness club for a particular student who needed a friend, and she immediately suggested that the club be available to other students in the same situation. Outside of school, Kaylee has been an Irish dancer, that's actually where she is tonight, since she was 4 years old. Last year, she qualified for nationals in Orlando, Florida. In 2 weeks, her Kaylee team will be going to the World Championships in Greensboro, North Carolina. She also had her first professional debut with the Celtic women planned for this year. Kaylee also plays the violin, and she's learning to speak Greek. She's a great student leader for Buckeye Intermediate, and we are very proud of her. Congratulations to Kaylee.
Good evening, I'm Mr. Flood, and I'm the principal of Buckeye Junior High. And with me is a 7th grader at Buckeye Junior High, and she was nominated by all of our teachers this month to be our Student of the Month. When I asked some of our teachers to write some of the things about Jade, here's what they had to say. Jade is a wonderful young lady who finds joy in learning and sharing through helping others. She really exemplifies what being a leader and a positive role model are all about. After talking with her a little bit, she shared that she aspires to go to Notre Dame University. Wait, sorry, that says Ohio State. In hopes of obtaining a teaching license in history and, of course, enjoying the football games. She also enjoys art with a special interest in sketching. And then the other thing that she really hopes to get on next year will be a JO volleyball team, where she wants to join a club team and become better at doing that. And then all of our teachers, Jade, when I walked around and I asked them questions about you, the one thing that they said was how caring that you are for them, as well as all the other students in the class, and you're always willing to help and do anything you possibly can. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jade Ames.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Jacob, I'm the high school principal, and I'm actually very happy to be here tonight to recognize 2 students. One may be on his way shortly if the baseball game ends, but we're hoping it does very shortly. So we're going to start with Jackie Iredam. I didn't blow the name, I'm really happy about that. Jackie is a junior at Buckeye High School, and she actually is a student who has received several nominations through our nomination process throughout the course of this year. She has always been a name that's been around the table of somebody who should be considered worthy of the Student of the Month. And the reason being, Mr. Cummings kept on nominating her because she is consistently just a positive person to be around, energetic, passionate, and above all kind. And I think I saw that firsthand the first time Jackie and I met when I got to take my Student of the Month picture with her. I'm sorry, your Student of the Month picture with our Student of the Month picture. There you go. We always like to do kind of a group picture, a fun picture, a serious picture, and kind of select from the best ones. And most of the kids look at me like I'm crazy when I'm saying, hey, let's do something funny. Jackie came right in with great ideas. She wanted me to do some sort of figure skating type of thing, and I said I'm not strong enough for that, so we settled on patty cake, I believe. So she's just an absolutely energetic student who's actively involved in our marching band. Next year, hoping to be a section leader. Currently involved in the National Honor Society, where she just participated in a trip down to the Cleveland Food Bank with the rest of our National Honor Society this past Friday. One of the things that really stood out to me about Jackie as we got to know each other is how active and proud she is of her religious involvement at her church, peer mentor and student leader for some of the younger kids. And I think those are qualities and characteristics that will serve her well one day when she's either teaching math or Spanish, depending on what she wants to do one day. Kind of a toss-up at this point, but definitely the little kids. She's been an outstanding person to get to know here in the last couple of weeks, and I'm so glad that our paths have crossed because she makes Buckeye High School a better place. She's also looking for a job, so if you're hiring, Jackie's available. So should be a great addition to your staff. Congratulations, Jackie. Our other Student of the Month is currently playing center field. down there on the field as the boys are playing at a varsity baseball game. So he may be coming in a few minutes, kind of in his full uniform. Our other student of the month that we are happy to nominate is Adam Mattress, a senior at Buckeye High School. I see several heads from the staff members that Adam has come across in his time, smiling and nodding in approval. And I think that right there speaks volumes as to why Adam was recognized by our staff at Buckeye High School. He's a young man of character. He is a leader amongst leaders in our student body. He was an integral part of our soccer team this year. He's serving as a captain of our baseball team currently. And to match that, he's an outstanding student taking on rigorous courses even during his senior year. One of my favorite things to see every day is when I walk through the cafeteria during his study hall period. I see Adam sitting there working on something academic every single day, even as early as Monday of this week, whether it be physics, advanced calculus, college composition. Adam has taken a rigorous course load all the way to the very end at Buckeye High School, and I think that's something that will serve him well moving forward. And one of my favorite interactions with Adam this year came at his expense in a public social media setting where his mom kind of gave him the business. Adam had the audacity to maybe question one of our lack of snow days publicly on I agree, by the way, it wasn't cold enough or snowy enough not to have school. But Adam and a couple of his friends vehemently disagreed. And he took a picture of a frozen over vase of flowers in his house and put it on social media going, what the heck's going on here? To which his mother responded, I know that's not my house, I've never received flowers from you. So one of the best moments of the year was Adam being completely owned by his mom on social media. He shook his head that Monday when I saw him, or the next day that I saw him, and he's just like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. And I have not seen hide nor hair on social media since. So Adam's just a great representation. Hopefully he'll have an opportunity to come up here and get his picture taken because he really is truly one of Buckeye's best. So thank you, Adam, for everything you're doing for us.
We'll hold his certificate up here, and if he comes in, we'll take a moment and give it to him. Let's take a break so we can take some pictures of our students of the month. And if you just come up here by the sign. All right, we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education accept the treasurer's report as presented, including all internal budgets, limited certificates, and appropriations to the county auditor as on file in the treasurer's office, which is appendix A for you. Approval of Bonefish Systems software contract. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the contract for a period of 3 years with Bonefish Systems LLC for the annual subscription of the usage of the electronic vendor audit system and the electronic payroll audit system. A copy of the contract is attached to board members' agendas as appendix B.
A motion, please. Second.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Stahl?
Yes.
Marchi?
Yes.
Greco?
Yes.
Dunkelman?
Yes. Public participation. The public is invited to speak to any of the agenda items and other school topics. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Direct questions will not be answered by the Board of Education members at this time. However, answers will be given at a later date as appropriate. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the superintendent's informational items.
Thank you. We have one presentation this evening, and that is from the Buckeye Junior High. Mr. Flood, would you introduce this?
I will, thank you. Again, come back up here, and one of the things that I wanted to come up today and talk about And I have with me this evening is Anthony Pavia. Mr. Pavia joined us 2 years ago, and when he came to our school, thankfully, I felt that we were doing something so great for kids every single day, and we were going to give kids an opportunity. And I asked Anthony to be a part of that, and it's where we partnered with the Medina County Career Center, and we have a program called Project Lead the Way. And Mr. Barco was a part of that a few years ago, where he was on the board at the Career Center as well as here, as well as Mr. Matson. And they approached us at that time and said, hey, there's an opportunity to bring this to Buckeye. Would you be interested? And when I started hearing more about this, I said, absolutely, I'd be interested. And they said, well, how many kids do you think might take this? And I said, all of our 8th graders will take this. And my reasoning at that time was so that we were going to introduce to all of our students what different aspects of job opportunities might be available to them. So with that being said, I don't want to steal his thunder of what he's up here to talk about today, but Mr. Pavia is going to talk about many of the great things that he's been able to do in his class this year and in years coming.
Good evening. Thank you. As Mr. Flood said, I am Antonio Pavia. I'm just here to give you just a little bit of informative information about what our PLTW STEAM program is. As mentioned, PLTW just stands for Project Lead the Way, and it's a hands-on biomedical engineering program that incorporates science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and hence the acronym STEAM. So STEAM and PLTW are one and the same. PLTW is the national program that we kind of follow the curriculum under. But as stated, 8th grade, all 8th grade takes it, and it's offered as semesters. And then our 7th graders have it as an elective, and that's just quarterly. The three foundations, PLTW's mantra focuses on showing, not telling. And that's showing, not telling for them to solve simple problems, come up with just simple solutions just by showing them. And they have it based on like 3 distinct pillars, and that's critical thinking, development of critical thinking and problem solving strategies, communication with their peers, which is a very important skill that it's helping them develop, and then also being able to work with one another effectively. And what I mean by that is, I have an idea, my partner has an idea, or my group has an idea. They're different. How can we meet in the middle? Are we going to argue about it, or are we going to come up with a healthy medium and then decide from that? And that's a skill our kids are starting to develop, which is a great thing for them. It's only going to benefit them in the future. I'm going to start with the engineering programs. There's 2 of them. This is offered for 8th grade. And that's automation and robotics and design and modeling. So if you hear me call it AR, that stands for automation and robotics, and then DM stands for design and modeling. And it's broken down to just 3 simple sections. And the first one is to kind of create the excitement, trace the history of automation and the whole robotics history of it. Just seeing what else is out there. Getting them exposed to things that are not necessarily that they have, like their cell phone or their computer. Just getting them to see the advancements that our society has and some of the things that might be kind of happening within the near future. The next one is kind of talk about like the simple mechanical systems, like for example, just a gear train, understanding the gear ratio, which one's going to create more speed or which one's going to create more torque. And it all just kind of builds upon each other. Everything is then combined for like the final major project where they take everything that they learned and then kind of put it all together to create whatever the task is. Now, one of the examples I use for this is the honey badger bridge. And this is probably the most complex one they have to do. And they're just designed a prototype bridge that allows a car to travel through, but then at the same time, if there's boats that need to pass, well, how are they going to allow the boats to go through? So they have to create and program so that a button will start the bridge and then automatically stop. Meaning, that it's stopping on its own. So they have to make sure the threshold of whatever sensor they're using is very, very precise. And then obviously they can't just leave it open, so cars can't travel into the water. So they have to retract the bridge by doing the same thing, which is in a backward motion. The best thing about this is that you really see it. You really see them. Like you see the wheels turning. You see the excitement. I don't even think they really know that they're learning, but what they're doing is they're putting everything together, and it's just as an educator, you just see that, and it's a very joyful thing for me because you know what, it's like they probably didn't think they could do this, and they're creating these incredible designs and these incredible things, and they're doing it as 8th graders. But moving on to the next program, or the next course that is, and that's just design and modeling. And this is more of like, I have an idea, and it gives you the steps of how to track that idea and how to make it the best possible thing you can do. Starting with just proper documentation, being able to share that, creating the proper dimensions, the labeling of everything. The main thing for this is just, if you were to want to create something and give it to a random stranger, with the information that you put on there, the dimensions, the material, the labeling of the material, would that person be able to tell whether or not, or how to build it, or what they're actually trying to create? And it's a pretty impressive thing from where they start to where they finish. And then the last thing is using the industrial modeling software to create a virtual image of whatever they want to create. So, for example, if they want to create a house or a garage, depending on the skill level. Their dimensions are very thorough, they're very precise, the materials they're using, and you see it. Like, yeah, you understand that they're creating something on a very intricate program, but it's their creativity that they're showing with it. It's mind-blowing sometimes to see what some of our kids come up with. In terms of like, I probably could never or would never have thought of that, and it blows me away sometimes. Moving on to I'm skipping that. This was the example we used for design and modeling. This is one of their big projects, and they're developing a foot orthosis brace for a patient who suffers from cerebral palsy. And they're just given everyday items, and they're trying to meet a certain criteria of how to make this thing as effective as possible. And they go through a design process, they go through all these different steps, they reevaluate it, they test it, and then they show it by modeling off. And it's a great scene to see because the things that they create with just the little amount of materials, just the everyday materials, the cardboard, the popsicle sticks, for example, it blows me away. But moving to the 7th grade is now based on the biomedical field, which is more medicine and forensics. And this, I think, really excites our 7th graders because they're basically role-playing a real-life medical detective. And they're analyzing medical data, they're trying to figure out how to diagnose patients that are suffering from a specific disease or food pathogen that they might have caught, like, for example, food poisoning. They're solving medical mysteries through hands-on projects. They have a patient that has been admitted to the hospital, and they got to figure out what's wrong. And they go through this whole process of analyzing the vital signs and interpreting that and putting that information together for research, and they do an incredible job with it. But part of the highlight of this is that they're actually, the last thing that they're doing is they're dissecting a sheep brain. And they're not just labeling where the parts are. That's one of the major things they have to do. But they're also exploring through that and trying to find where this brain might have went through some problems. Like, for example, some of the sheep brains have a little bead in there that signifies where the stroke happened in there. And they have to find that and locate it and then be able to discuss what this affected and what part of the brain. And the process that leads up to that is incredible. I mean, for me, from personal experience, as a junior in high school, I was dissecting something like that, and I was not even close to this in grade school. And have our 7th graders and our 8th graders be given this opportunity to kind of take a step out of just the traditional classroom and with more of the hands-on project. It's an incredible thing that we have. The last thing though is that all this was done within the classroom, and we were given an amazing opportunity to step outside of the classroom and see what else is out there. And big shout out to Mike Vogt, who allowed the 8th grade, not just last semester, but this semester as well. He graciously invited us into his company and gave us a tour of his automation program, of his whole, like the automation floor of his company. There's about 8 or 9 groups, and each station offered a different field or a different type of subject that related to what we've been talking about. And the kids got to see that from a large scale, and kind of seeing just seeing them so interested and just very engaged with what's happening and seeing all that stuff going on. It was an amazing opportunity that we were given, and I mean, me personally, I cannot be more thankful for Mr. Vogt for doing that. But here's just a couple of pictures of what they were doing, and it was a lot of just seeing just basic things that we were doing on a larger scale, and kids were just they could relate to it because they've been able to access this. And this was, yes, it was to get them to see what else is out there, but the main thing we wanted to take away from this was we wanted kids to come back with the idea that, you know what, this is something I want to pursue when I get older. Or this is like, you know what, I saw this, I mean, I'm interested, but I still have to learn more about it, you know. And we just wanted to kind of get that idea in their head at this age, so then when they start to grow, that something they want to pursue, that would be a great idea. And just get them exposed to what the whole field's about. Unfortunately, I had a couple students that I was going to bring in, just give them a couple testimonies, but they unfortunately had prior obligations to sporting events. So I just have a couple just a couple quotes and a couple questions of what they said. Never mind. But if you would like to see anything from that, my contact information is there, so feel free. But thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate you guys.
To wrap up everything that we're doing there with that, I think that's one of the greatest things about Buckeye Junior High. Many years ago when our district was going through financial hardships, we were unfortunately in a situation where things at that time, we were bringing things down to just the core. And at that time, I remember actually speaking at a board meeting and saying, if we continue in this fashion, that we're ultimately going to be hurting students, because in the end, everybody usually goes out and has the core, but they don't have all of the ancillary things that go out beyond that really make up our society of today. Today, I think we're able to do that. Buckeye Junior High, Buckeye High School, the intermediate, the primary building, all of us are taking many initiatives to really work with kids and to give them opportunities, and I think that just showed a lot right there. You know, when I went in and I observed, I guess, one of the things that I walked around as I was talking with kids in that classroom, do you enjoy this class? Some kids are like, I really like the class, and then I'd say, well, do you think that this might interest you one day? And they'd give an honest answer, no or yes. The no was fine too, because how many kids in 8th grade, honestly, had any clue what many of these things were? I know I didn't, and I'm sure many of us didn't. But now our 8th graders and 7th graders at least have an idea of this might be something I might want to pursue. So with that, again, thank you very much for allowing us to continue with this. The Career Center being a big part of this, and again, Mr. Pavia doing a great job in the classroom with it.
Thank you, Mr. Flood. Mr. Pavia? I have one informational item to add, and that information is just coming out today. And we have our baseball field opening ceremonies is going to be next Thursday, April 18th. So we're excited. Hope everyone can come out and see the first game on our new field.
Where's the time for that?
I think it's 4:15, but I'll have something fresh to decide that. So
Okay.
the pre-guess. Continue.
Yes, please, the superintendent's recommendations.
Item A, approval of LLA Stars and Stripes contract. Recommended Buckeye Board of Education approve the contract with LLA Therapy for the 2018-19 summer program. Provide extended school year services for up to 7 Buckeye students for a total of $300 per week. A copy of the agreement is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix C. Item B, approval of the LCCC Statement of Understanding. Recommended the Buckeye Board of Education approve the Statement of Understanding with Lorraine County Community College coordinating 37.5 hours of observation/assist field placement for college candidates. A copy of the Statement of Understanding is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix D. Item C, approval of the Branching Minds Partnership. Recommended to Buckeye Board of Education approve the proposal for the 2019-20 partnership between Branching Minds and Buckeye local schools. The goals of the partnership will include assisting RTI and TSS teams with a student insight surveys and support recommendations, progress monitoring, and reporting. A copy of the proposal is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix E. Item D, approval to advertise for bids. Recommended Buckeye Board of Education allow the superintendent to advertise for bids for the 2019 through 2023 snow plowing and salt spreading on the Buckeye local school campus. Item E, approval of sealed bus bid. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the sealed bus bid that was open on March 15, 2019 at 11 a.m. A copy of the sealed bus bid is attached to the board members' agendas as Appendix F. Item F, approval of Tri-C Memorandum of Understanding Agreement. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the Memorandum of Understanding for the College Credit Plus CCP Partnership Agreement for the 2019-20 school year with Cuyahoga Community College. The document will be on file in the Treasurer's Office. A copy of the MOU is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix G. Item G, approval of the NeoNet Memorandum of Understanding. Recommended the Buckeye Board of Education approve the Memorandum of Understanding with Northeast Ohio Network for Educational Technology to purchase HPSB Chromebooks and a Management Console license for the 2019-20 school year. A copy of the MOU is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix R. Item H, approval of Buckeye baseball field construction. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the proposal for the construction of access area behind the backstop of proposed baseball field for Buckeye soccer field access. A scope of work proposal is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix H. Item I, overnight field trip. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve an overnight field trip for Buckeye FFA. Their field trip to Dublin, Ohio is scheduled for May 1st, 2019 to May 3rd, 2019. Approximately 12 students and 1 advisor will be attending. There is no cost to the district. A copy of the overnight trip proposal is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix Q. Item J, final reading of student curriculum. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve Pearson's My Perspectives for adoption for the English Language Arts program for grades 6 through 8. A copy of the price quote summary is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix I. Item K, final reading of student curriculum. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the novel All But My Life for adoption for advanced 8th grade English Language Arts. A copy will be provided to Board of Education members for review upon request. Item L, final reading of student curriculum. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the math adoption of Pearson's Envision 2.0 program for grades 6 through 10. A copy of the price quote summary is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix J. Item M, Buckeye Local Schools 2021 calendar. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the Buckeye Local Schools 2020-21 school calendar. A copy of the calendar is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix K. And item N, approval of high school wall restoration sealed bid. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education award the sealed high school wall restoration bid based on all bids that were opened on April 2nd, 2019 at 2 p.m. A copy of the bid tabulation is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix L. And I would like to notify the board that we do have Mr. Ron Coco from who's responsible for the bids. If there are any questions that you have in regards to the high school wall restoration project. Thank you.
Motion for approving these superintendent's recommendations.
So moved.
A second? Any questions or comments?
You feel good with the bids?
Yes.
I hope so.
I figured you know he's gonna come.
That's the question.
Thanks, Kim.
Roll call, please.
Burko,
Yes.
Archie,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Conkling,
Yes. New business.
Item A, first reading of the following policies. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education consider the policies listed below as presented. Copies of the complete policies are attached to board members' agendas as Appendix M. Number 1, Policy 2261, Title I Services, and number 2, Policy 2261.01, Parent and Family Member Participation in Title I programs. And item B, first reading of student curriculum. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education review the Wonders program for adoption for 4th and 5th grade. A copy of the price quote summary is attached to the board members' agendas as Appendix N. Personnel, item A, certified personnel. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the following certified personnel items as presented. Number 1, one-year contracts effective the 2019-2020 school year, expiring July 31st, 2020, as presented. Item 2, continuing contracts. Recommend the Board of Education approve continuing contracts for the following employees effective for the 2019-20 school year as presented. And item 3, non-renewal of extended time contracts. Recommend the Board of Education non-renew the following extended time contracts for the 2019-2020 school year. Extended time contracts for the 2019-2020 school year will be based on need and board approval as presented. Item 4, non-renewal of long-term substitutes. Recommend the Board of Education approve the non-renewal of long-term substitute contracts for the following employees after the completion of the 2018-19 school year. Zachary Herman, Hannah Hartley, and Jessica Barlock. I'd like to say that we appreciate all 3 of them and the efforts that they've done and the quality instruction they provided this past school year. Item 5, employment. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve to hire Melanie Hamlet, 7th grade science teacher for Buckeye Junior High School, effective August 19th, 2019. For the 2019-2020 school year, Ms. Hamlet will be paid for the negotiated agreement at BA Step 4 at a salary of $46,888. Item 6, voluntary change of employment. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve a voluntary transfer of Megan Brooks, intervention specialist to intermediate special education teacher, effective August 19th, 2019. For the 2019-2020 school year, Ms. Brooks will be paid for the negotiated contract. Item 7, training stipend. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve to pay the following employees a stipend of $1,000 each to fulfill the requirements of preparing and training district staff in mental health awareness for the 2019-2020 school year. A copy of the memorandum of understanding is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix O from Michelle X and Gail Telford. Item 8, family medical leave of absence, FMLA. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the family medical leave of absence for Richard Rimmer, effective April 1st, 2019. Tentative date of return is April 22nd, 2019. Item B, certified substitutes. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the attached list of certified substitutes tutors recommended by the Madison County School DSC to work on an as-needed basis for the 2018-19 school year. Copy of the list is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix P. Item C, classified personnel. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the following classified personnel items as presented. Number 1, employment. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve to hire Rebecca Bonner, intermediate paraprofessional, effective 3/8/19. Ms. Bonner will be paid per the negotiated agreement at step 1. Item 2, employment. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve to hire David Pasorda, mechanic, effective April 15th, 2019. Mr. Pasorda will be paid per the negotiated agreement at step 7. Item 3, amended family medical leave of absence. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the amended dates of family medical leave of absence for Cletus Varney, head custodian, effective April 12th. Tentative date of return is May 13th, 2019. Item 4, extended family medical leave of absence. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the extension of the family medical leave of absence for Joseph Trodak, head custodian. Return to work date is April 10th, 2019. And item 5, amended family medical leave of absence. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the amended dates of family medical leave of absence for Gail Luther, food service supervisor. Tentative date of return is June 4th, 2019. Item D, classified substitutes. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the attached list of classified substitutes to work on an as-needed basis for the 2018-19 school year as presented.
Thank you. A motion to accept these personnel items.
So moved.
Second? Any questions or comments on these? Roll call, please.
Parker?
Yes.
Bertie?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Kunkelman?
Yes. And we have some donations.
Yes, recommend the Buckeye Board of Education accept and recognize the following donations to Buckeye Local Schools as presented. Item A, a Ford electric bass guitar and case donated by Jacqueline Wolf with an estimated value of $150 to be used by the Buckeye Women's Program.
A motion to accept the donation. Second. Roll call, please.
Stahl?
Yes.
Havarti? Parker?
Yes.
Gumble?
Yes. Board comments this evening? Is there anyone who wishes to comment?
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Anything?
The Run Club looks great.
Right. Then we do have a need for executive session for the purpose of employment. There's going to be no action afterwards. May I have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
And a second? And roll call.
Parker?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Havarti? Gumble?
Yes. Thank you, everyone.